yeah, so let's go ahead and kick this off. And we do actually have a big drop here for Bitcoin where we have lost our range and we are now trading down at $58,000. Now, this begs the question, are we going to be losing this level and tumbling much lower, or is this actually an opportunity for a bit of a deviation, perhaps over here, or perhaps we just kind of bounce off here and then we continue to move up? And you know, I'm going to make this super easy, at least for the beginning, before we start really diving into the nuance. And that's by telling you guys that personally, I'm still not worried. Granted, I won't be worried even if we go down to $30,000. So it's hard to make me worry. But we haven't lost the range yet. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of people kind of prematurely running laps. But you know, if you took an attitude where everything was doom and gloom over here when this dump started to happen because we lost this level and this level and this level, then you would have entered shorts down here and you would have had a really, really bad time. You still would not be in a profit. You know, maybe you'd kind of be at break even right now. It would have been nasty, right? So shout out to the one lonely soldier that's held this short position up for 36 days, up by 25%, and now is still holding it here. That probably has not been a nice, 45 days or 60 days for that person. There's obviously someone that's done that, and since we haven't kind of lost this level, I think that, Bitcoin's love language is deviation. So there's definitely a strong possibility that this happens. I've always said that I think it's a bit ridiculous. And I think that, you got to kind of keep things in proportion and keep them reasonable. You can't really expect that you're going to be seeing, constantly setting deviations and then continuing up. However, one of the ideas that I did discuss with you guys, and nobody's talking about it, which to me kind of makes it potentially even more valid, is the possibility of Bitcoin entering a super typical kind of parallel channel that looks something a little bit like this, where, we kind of continuously just set lower highs and lower lows, something a little bit like this, and we've already actually been conforming to this very well. So I don't really know why other people aren't talking about it, but that's more power for you and I. So I'm happy with that. This is a very kind of typical pattern, right? I mean, we've already kind of covered this a little bit in one of the previous live streams. Shout out to those of you that have been tuning in, smashing up those likes and subscribe to this YouTube channel, because you're going to know all about that. Because if we kind of measure this move and what we're working with here, we had a nice extended move here, followed by a pullback, right? That looks a little bit like this. And we've got a really nice kind of, length of pullback here compared to the rally. And that's the first thing that I actually want to say to anchor ourselves, so that we don't start kind of running with things that aren't necessarily, realistic. I mean, we've got the real PG in the live chat here. Shout out to you, mate, saying we are talking about the giant bull flag. Yes, we are. We want to kind of measure the length of these bull flags compared to the length of the rally, and anything under kind of like 50% of this length I'm happy with, which is, we're still kind of under that, and it's just kind of, a measured move, right? Like, you move up quite aggressively, so you expect that there's going to be some sort of a correction in terms of time and price, and this actually works out quite well. We've got Michael Voss in the chat as well saying, I've had that parallel channel on my chart for ages. I must be the TA master. You most certainly are, mate. You most certainly are. So that is absolutely sick. As we are going on in the stream, let me know how we're feeling in the live chat, ladies and gents. I want to know how we're feeling in terms of sentiment. But this is the first thing I want to say, because, I don't take emotional outlooks to this market. You don't get paid very well if you do that. And with that in mind, I think that there is still some really nice kind of opportunity for Bitcoin to swing down here, grab some liquidity, but also continue to conform to this pattern. So far, I don't see any reason why you would fade this pattern. It's a big one, so, maybe that would kind of discount it a little bit. I mean, we have been in this for over 4 months now. That's not great. But I mean, the upside has been tested very nicely. The downside has been tested twice. So we could be looking to get that third attempt now. If there is a correction from here, then what we're actually looking at is a very, very fun and explosive target, because what we can actually do is kind of extrapolate a target from the length of this flagpole. And that would be from about over here. And that gives us a speculative target of about 102K for the next impulse wave here. So is that actually going to happen? I don't know. You don't know either. But I think that, it would be naive to rule this out, because, if we do maintain perspective of what's actually happened here, we haven't actually moved down by that much compared to the rally. I mean, we're up by 370% and we're down by 20. So we've really got to be very realistic about this, in my opinion here. I just don't think that we've done anything so horrific at this stage And I think that any kind of correction is very much warranted, because if we also measure it from this kind of move here, which is where this leg really kicked off, it was a straight 176% move up, which is a 2.7 times gain, and it happened within 5 months. So 5 months is a decent amount of time, but that's still pretty quick. And, I think that now, 4 months of kind of sideways and down, it's not that bad. It's just a cool off from the move that we've had, which is why I'm not worried. It's why that it's the reason that I just can't be upset about what I'm seeing here or scared in any way. And it's the first thing that I really want to ground you guys with. I think that that's super important at this stage in the market. And like I said, this is going to be a little bit more of a chill one, ladies and gents. So I got my shisha pipe here. I don't even know what flavor this is. I'll try and work it out before the end of the stream. But we got Rico saying it's highly unlikely we visit sub 50K since we're technically in a bull market. I think we're still, hard to say technically in a bull market or technically in a bear, because there's different technical definitions. But, for me, a big example of a bear market is just, when we're setting lower highs and lower lows on a macro scale. And I don't think we've really been doing that yet. I think, a clear kind of lower high would be something that looks a little bit like this, punch in a high here, and then you can very clearly, this over here is where I'd basically say we're in a bear market, which granted from the high in this particular example, it could be anything else, but in this particular example, you're already down by 33%. But this is actually very much in line with what I've always said, which is that in a bull market, I totally accept that I might lose the last kind of 30-40% of my profits, but I would have made so much money up to that point that I'm actually completely okay with that. I've made peace with that, and actually losing that last 33% is going to be exactly what keeps me in, instead of, makes me panic and exit down here, or down here, for example, being willing to kind of lose that. So we've got a little bit of talk about the German government selling Bitcoin. Obviously, that's the narrative of the day. I don't care about that. We'll come to that in a little bit. But I wanted to start the live stream off by kind of talking about that and focusing, on some really, really important kind of grounding facts here before we do continue on. As you are coming in, ladies and gents, let's smash this live stream up to 100 likes. We've been having a little bit of problems with the YouTube algorithm lately, but hopefully we can beat them out this time. So if you do appreciate these streams, do me a favor and smash them up while you are coming in here. We have already pulled off a bit of a recovery for Bitcoin. However, it's hard to say if this is going to be short-lived or not. If we look at the last recovery, we really messed around at the bottom here for a little bit, and it did take some time for Bitcoin to actually recover, right? If we measure it from this point until the point that we kind of got out, it was a whole 27 hours. And so far, since we've kind of entered this range up to now, it has been about 11. So, if last time is anything to go off, we still have a lot of time that we can mess around in this range until we kind of recover. If anything, you might actually expect it to get slower this time. So, that's something to keep in mind. And I think if we really kind of start hanging out in the floor and forming some sort of bull flag, a bear flag here, then that's where I would expect us to dump down. And the next logical support level is, of course, going to be $52,000. So I don't think we're going to have anything in between these two price ranges. I think that it's going to be a straight shot down. And despite everything I'm saying, I am actually going to be interested now more in short positions. So, if we do see the market kind of come back up here, I'd actually be interested in shorts that can kind of come in up here with stop losses maybe above some of these wicks. It actually work out pretty nice. If we kind of measure what that would look like here, just out of curiosity, I'd probably have my stop loss, just over some of these wicks here. And I'd probably be targeting the same downside that we've got here. And that's an initial risk to reward of 2.2 and down to the real target of 52. That is basically a 5 risk to reward. I'm risking 3% with a 15% upside there, which is great. That's really, really good. And I think that's a potential position that I'd be interested in. Like I said, I do think that Blowfin is the place to be right now. Bybit remains the best exchange in the game. There's no doubt about that. However, Blowfin is a great alternative, and always be mindful of your country's local regulations when you do plan on trading on any crypto exchange, because you've got to make sure that you're following your laws in your country. Now, if we move on and take a little bit of a look at where those support levels are in some more detail, we have got this 52K level here looking very juicy. There is a lot of kind of consolidation. There was a little bit of consolidation that took place here, and a lot if we move back to 2021, right? If we look back at 2021, we saw some very important price action coming in off this particular price level here, 52K. We saw some rejections, a bit of consolidation when Bitcoin was initially setting the all-time high. A very important series of bounces here, which is absolutely great, including this kind of rejection here and some more rejections, right? So Definitely an important level that has polarized the market before. However, I think it's light, and I think that the more important level is going to be this next red line that I've got here. This next red line was a macro top during this kind of fake out that Bitcoin produced, where we kind of found resistance in this blue box and broke out above it and then ended up tumbling down. And of course, we have many, many more examples of this level being important, including some consolidation, bounces, resistance, consolidation, and some more consolidation resistance over here. So definitely an important level, and that is the $48,000 range. And of course, it does also line up with this macro top here as well. So I think that both levels are in play, and I think that both levels are valid. However, I am much more interested in this second $48,000 price level, and I think that in any case, getting at least down to 52 is going to be a very, very quick journey if we do lose this level. Now, like I said, there's still that risk that we could have a deviation moving up, and that's why I wouldn't trade it. I just don't think that it's clean to trade or safe to trade. However, I think that the safer opportunity to trade would be if we see Bitcoin ending up coming up here. And, you know, the way I drew this is very important, right? If we end up seeing Bitcoin kind of take its time to get back up, then what we're actually going to see is that some of our key indicators that have been providing resistance to Bitcoin, for example, this daily EMA ribbon, they're actually going to have a chance to catch up to the trend. And if they have a chance to catch up to the trend, then there's going to be a lot of kind of resistance that we can capture up here and allow the market to drop down further. So I think that that's definitely quite exciting. It's going to open up some really easy trade setups, and I think that's really, really cool. We have had a lot of people actually taking advantage of this really cool offer that Blowfin was running, where depending on your trading volume, you win an Apple Watch or a Tesla. Super, super cool stuff like that. You know, so that's absolutely sick. And I just think that that's going to be very interesting, because if we can kind of slowly grind our way up, then we do have a lot more of a clearer picture that could develop, right? I mean, typically in my experience, if you're going to move up, you're going to get a quick move up. But if it kind of takes its time and starts looking a little bit like this, then actually we might even see it now. You're going to start getting some really nasty stuff like Ichimoku resistance, which you can already start to see is starting to develop in this particular price range here, right? So if Bitcoin kind of takes its time, trades sideways and slowly moves up kind of thing, we are definitely going to start seeing that this Ichimoku cloud is going to really fill out this range. It's already in this range right now. So, you know, if we don't get this recovery quickly, looking a little bit like this, you know, the line might be a little bit steeper like this. We might end up moving, you know, if it's slow, into this kind of zone of resistance and then moving down, right? And this is basically all a kind of complicated way of me saying that if we don't get the recovery quickly, we might not get the recovery at all. And that is actually how a lot of the time these things work in the crypto market. And that's why I'm highlighting it to you and bringing it to your attention. We've had a couple questions like, how do I, what's my target for the lower part of the channel, you know, or where I think Bitcoin can go to bottom out. Just to answer your question about the channel, let's throw that back on. You can obviously take a look at this yourself, and you should, because you might draw it slightly different to me in a way that you prefer it to be drawn. But for me, the lower part of this channel would put us at about $54,000 if we get down there now, which is a really nice kind of easy deviation below 56. It wouldn't really matter, right? We don't even have to tag it exactly, and there's going to be a lot of different ways to draw this, and it's also just going to vary based on if you're using the regular or the logarithmic scale, right? You're going to draw it slightly differently based on kind of what chart you're using, but you know, we're basically just talking about a level. I'm sorry, I'm not showing my screen. We're basically just talking about a level which is going to be slightly below the 56k, you know, a 56k zone. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there in terms of a potential bounce. And like I said, some great support down here to be found at about $52,000 and $48,000. So that's something that I personally will be keeping an eye out for as well. Great shisha today, very, very good. A little bit hot though. Just gonna take this heat management off. Yeah, like I said, super chill live stream from me today. I am just kind of unwinding, to be honest. I've had a long day, ladies and gents. I had to come on. I didn't make a video yesterday. I didn't make a video before that. So I was like, I'll come on, but it's gonna be a chill one. So if you guys like that, then that's great. If you kind of like the more upbeat treadmill ones, then that's great too. But at least you know what to expect from me in this one here. Question of timing. Do I see upward in the next 2 to 3 weeks? I have no idea, man. I really don't know. It's very hard to say, because that kind of time frame is hard to predict. You know, it's a lot easier to say what might happen next. Even now, that's kind of difficult. It really could go either way, and it would make so much sense in both directions. But like I said, I think, I'm just going to wait to see, right? If we kind of slowly move up, then that's going to really make me feel certain that we're going to drop down. If we manage to pull off a recovery quickly, like let's say this 4-hour candle closes in 30 minutes. So the next 4-hour candle would be the end of the day in UTC time zone. And, if that's the case, basically, let's say 4.5 hours from now, maybe we see some crazy volatility at the end of the day, and that's where this thing really shoots up. That's actually what happened over here, right? It was around the UTC daily close where we really started to see this thing blow up. Take a look at this here. So this is midnight, I believe. This is midnight in UTC, and that was exactly the end of the downtrend. And the very next candle, we started to really shoot up here. So that's actually quite typical of Bitcoin, where around these kind of UTC closes, we see something interesting happening. We also, very, very funny, I was talking to you guys about Donald, have been seeing, some kind of scary price action here where basically I can point this out to you super clearly. If we just go ahead and mark out every single weekend on this chart here, we're going to see something kind of crazy. Take a look at this here. So here is the Saturday and Sunday here. Next week, here is the next Saturday and Sunday. Next week, here is the next Saturday and Sunday. Next week here is the next Saturday. Saturday and Sunday, right? So if you kind of look back at where all of this kind of price action is happening, we're actually seeing that a lot of kind of recoveries are happening on weekends and a lot of continuation of the downside is happening on weekdays. So, that can definitely have something to do with kind of CME price action or whatever. But let's say we kind of trade into this here, that fulfills our weekend kind of recovery, and then we're back down for the next week. So I just thought that's kind of interesting. Maybe this backs up the, Mt. Gox and Germany selling Bitcoin thing. But I mean, you guys know my take on this stuff. We've seen this happen a million times, and I just cannot bring myself to give a fuck. It's very, very typical FUD that gets recycled all the time. So I personally am not worried about that. I do want to cover with you guys the kind of bullish side of things, because I know there's going to be a lot of wolves that are actually buying Bitcoin right now and interested in kind of seizing those opportunities, and if that's your vibe, then you really need to see that this 60K level gets reclaimed. The good news about kind of downtrends is that the more that you trend down, the easier it is to flip it and get back bullish again. Previously when we were down here, we had to flip 64, and we didn't. We actually found resistance there, but we had to flip 64 and turn this into support. And it's kind of over here, or kind of when the bounce has matured, after the bounce has matured. So basically like here, this is where you kind of know that the market is good and we're traveling back up. But over here now, we actually have to flip, in my view, kind of this particular price zone. So if we kind of get above here and back test kind of like, instead of it being up here at like 65.5, it's now kind of like 62, where I would actually start getting very optimistic about Bitcoin. So, I would love to see Bitcoin get back up there. And I think that if it can get back up there, this is, again, just a huge opportunity for bears, just like this one here and sort of like this one here, where bears had a huge opportunity to take back control of the market, but they didn't. And so we get a really strong argument for expecting Bitcoin to continue to travel up back to this range, and we can just chalk this up to being another deviation. Now, how often do we get two big deviations like this? Not very often at all, so I really wouldn't be placing my bets in that direction right now. I don't think that that's actually what's happening here. Have we had that kind of thing before? I mean, not really. I think a lot of the time where we get two deviations, it actually just ends up going a little bit like this. That's actually how these things have typically gone before. Here's another example where we form a, this is the support level. We form a big deviation here, another big deviation here, but this one doesn't become a deviation. It just becomes the real market move. So I think that's something very important that's worth all of us kind of keeping in mind at this point in the live stream. What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome to the live stream here. Germany still has a big bag left, long on weekends, short on weekdays. Yeah, great way to lose money lately, if that's what you're describing. There's obviously a similar pattern right now as in June 21, but smaller cycle. We should be touching around 56 and then picking up. That is very specific. But if you believe that to be the case, then yeah, I think a lot of people might actually be agreeing with you because of where the market has bottomed out. So I think that's really, really cool. to kind of discuss there. Let me know how we are feeling about this as we continue going on. It seems like a lot of you guys think that we are actually going to bounce around 56. I want to know, where do you guys think we're going to bounce? Let me know in the live chat. Is it going to be like 52? Do you think it's going to be 48? Do you think we've already punched in the low? Let me know in the live chat. I'd love to know kind of where you guys are at, what you guys are thinking. And of course, as we are continuing to go on, smash those likes up just so we can continue to push this stream out to more viewers if you haven't done so already. Let's continue talking about the upside here. If we do manage to flip 60K, I would be expecting that 64 is next, and I think 64 and every other subsequent resistance level up ahead is going to be a breeze for Bitcoin to break through. And I think that it's going to be a breeze purely because getting another deviation here and flipping above 60K would be such a big deal that it would be celebrated all around the world. And it would be very, very important. Now, is this something to do with like 4th of July and, the holiday weekend? Potentially. It does look like the dump is kind of happening since the US woke up. However, I mean, I don't know how much credit I would put on that. Actually, has it been happening? That might be complete bollocks, actually. This move really kicked off at midnight, actually, today. So not really, so I mean, is it something where kind of 4th of July, holiday is over and then everyone gets back to work and everything's normal again? I don't know. I really have no way of saying, but I do think that we could see something kind of pick up again on the weekend, like I did show you in that previous chart, where we get a lot of kind of bullish weekend volatility. So I think that's definitely interesting. And like I said, I think if we do start to see a bit of consolidation here, that would be another bearish sign. So there's kind of two key bearish outcomes that I see here. We trade sideways or we slowly trade up. If we quickly move up kind of by the end of today on the UTC time zone, which is again in about 4.5 hours, then I think we're good. Anything else, and I think it's really hard to kind of make a bullish argument right now, and I would be expecting things to drop down. Like I said, there are going to be deviation traders that are interested in picking up liquidity down here and then trading this thing up. Those kind of people make a lot of money, so it's worth keeping that in mind. And if you are kind of tuning in a little bit late to the live stream, one of the first big ideas that we did discuss was the idea that Bitcoin could actually be trading in a kind of descending parallel channel that looks a little bit like this. And so that does put a potential support level down here to be buying some Bitcoin up, right? And that level can look like kind of 54K based on how I drew it, or it can look like something else completely different based on how you might draw it. So I think that's definitely important. We've already looked at the Ichimoku cloud here on the 4-hour, but let's zoom in even further and look at it on the 1 hour. Since we have got a bit of a trend now, it's been pretty useful here on the 1 hour going back since basically kind of the middle of June. Very, very good success rate. We did get a couple of fake outs, but very good success rate overall. So I think that this is providing some kind of short-term resistance. Like I said, I think these larger time frames are going to be a little bit more important. So there is a nice window for Bitcoin to get back up to about 62K for now. But if it does take its time, then it's exactly like I said. I think that resistance is going to mount. This is why I really like the Ichimoku cloud. It really kind of allows you to predict the future, which I think is so powerful. And you can actually watch my video on how to get and use this indicator here on YouTube just by typing this into the search bar. So that is absolutely sick. And I think very, very important. So definitely check that out if you are interested. I'm actually going to be re-recording a bunch of those videos soon as well, but you can still check it out. It's pretty recent. Buy when everyone is bearish. That's a very good rule. I completely agree, dude. I completely agree. And if we take a look at the fear and greed index, it hasn't actually updated yet for our current needs, but 44 from yesterday, it's probably going to be somewhere closer to like 30 now, which basically puts us in extreme fear. So that's obviously a good place to be. We want to see that we see kind of very, very low sentiment levels when price is still high, because that tells us that we're actually kind of in like a short-term correction. Because in my experience, and those of you that have been around for a while, you're going to back me up in the comments here. Definitely, just give me a +1 if you agree with what I'm about to say. In my experience, when you do actually set market tops, you don't have this level of fear. The fear kind of sets in slowly, and it's more of a realization that like you expected the dip to stop dipping, and you expected the bounce to come in, and you were so certain about it because that's how it happened every time so far. So you really get blindsided by the price action, and you kind of slowly transition into being a bear rather than, everyone saying, oh, we lost 60K, so it's game over. A lot of the time, in my experience in market tops, in fact, no, scratch that, 100% of the time in market tops, where we've actually had market tops here, I think that I've noticed that people very, very clearly do not see it coming, and they just completely turn their head the other way, and when they see kind of dips like what we're in right now, they're just expecting it to be a very, very definite surefire thing that we get bought back up. And it's only like, the market will do something like this, and it's only like over here where people start to realize like, shit, this thing actually isn't going to go up and it's going to be in a 4-year bear market, and then we dip a little bit lower and then we finally come back up, and, it's only been like, 2-year bear market, and then, we're kind of back to business again. So, different people are going to have different takes on that. We did have a question earlier on in the live stream of somebody asking, do I think this is the beginning of a 4-year bear market? And my answer to that is a big no. I think just based off what I've said right now, that's the single biggest reason that I cannot bring myself to be worried about this. The market is in a really good place as far as I'm concerned right now. I think that the market is looking super healthy. It's hard to knock this right now. And I think as long as we have people that are incredibly bearish, like I've just been showing you with the fear and greed index, we are going to be in a good place for the uptrend, right? I mean, it happens all the time within uptrends where sentiment gets absolutely shot. It reaches really, really low levels, but we're actually still in a really nice kind of bull market, right? If we take a look at kind of April, I mean, this is a bit unfair because it's the COVID situation, but, we can even bring it back to like June, July of 2020. Let's kind of look at the price action back there where we had a fear and greed rating literally identical to yesterday. I just want to point this out to you. And I want to show you what that chart looked like, right? Just so we can kind of really be very objective about all of this and kind of approach this market with a very sober head. That is obviously very, very important in these markets. If we take a look at what was happening throughout kind of the end of June, July in 2020, this is what the chart looked like, right? I mean, we kind of topped out at $14,000. We had the coronavirus crash, which took us down to $3,000 over here. And then we just had this like really small zone here where really the main problems that we were trading sideways, so people got bored, which is fucking exactly like what we're in right now. And then this was kind of like the low in the range. We hung out here for a little bit. And the fear and greed rating when we were down here was, lower than where we were yesterday, 38, 41, 44, so on and so forth. Like people were really, really bearish about the market back then. And it's the same reading that we literally have today. I mean, this reading came in yesterday, right? And this is all to say, and again, like if we take a look at how the market behaved, back when the market actually topped out, let's just say when this dump really kicked off, like let's say kind of 13th of May 21, let's take a look at what was happening there. 13th May 21, we were actually very low. Yeah, we had a big steep crash here. We were in extreme fear for a little bit. Let's see what happened the next time when we started to drop. I'd say like when we lost the key level would have been here, kind of 3rd of December. Let's see what the rating was like over here. 3rd of December. That's going to be around over here. And we did drop down very low again, down to about, the 30s actually. So we haven't even gotten that low actually. So by this, we could definitely be going even lower if this thing does actually really, really tank. The good news though, and the reason that I think that's going to be difficult now to really tank super hard like before, especially like the first time we did it in 21, is because we didn't have a lot of price history here, right? Like we didn't have all of this shit on the chart back when this kind of dump initiated, which really strongly showed us that like we didn't know where we would find support. But the second time it was so much slower. It was a much more controlled move down, and I think that, I mean, it's not necessarily going to be so much slower this time if it happens again, but there is a lot kind of going in our favor to kind of cushion that fall. So I think that's super cool. Generally, in my experience, we do see sentiment get absolutely shot when markets are at local lows in bull areas, in bull markets. And I think that's what we are seeing now. We've definitely seen that when we do go full bearish, we can get extremely fearful on this fear and greed index, but we're not even there yet. And before it happens, I think, like the markets are probabilities, right? Like nothing's set in stone. And if you kind of view it as definites and certainties and stuff like that, you're going to have a really bad time. You're going to get swept across the fucking floor by people like me and people like K who have been short in this market since 70K. Shout out to the pinned message here, you absolute legend. We've got Mo from New Zealand here. I think that's what your name means. Saying, I've been watching your videos for a very long time, and I'm so happy that you always improve your analysis quality, unlike some other famous YouTubers. Thank you for all the videos, man. You're very, very welcome, sir. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And obviously, I think just like everybody else, I'm always looking at how I can be improving my game. I'm always learning stuff, always kind of reading stuff. You never stop being a student of the market. The only way you stop being a student of the market is if you market stuff like, all sorts of crazy pre-sales that you get into as a YouTuber, because there are crazy ways to be making money, and you just absolutely sell your reputation to the fucking devil. Then you don't actually have to really improve your game. You just make a lot of money. But obviously that's not what we do here. That's not the kind of thing that you end up seeing here. However, sponsors do help us keep things moving, and I do want to highlight them just for those of you that haven't quite taken advantage of them yet. Blowfin is giving you thousands of dollars in discounts when you do start trading using my link down below. You got to be mindful of your country's local regulations, but they don't require KYC, no pictures of yourself or your ID, and they have their own kind of tech here. So that's super cool. There aren't many exchanges that are kind of, in my opinion, safe to trade on that don't require KYC. A lot of them are shady as fuck. If you can have your own opinions about Blowfin too, I'm not saying that they're angels. I think they're good, but you might feel different. But obviously you got to keep in mind, what your country's local regulations are and stuff like that. And if you feel comfortable trading on these exchanges, but Bybit to me does remain the best in the game. And they're both linked in the description with huge bonuses that you get when you do start trading using those links. So that is super, super cool. And if you are enjoying the stream so far, do me a favor and smash those likes up. Double check that you are subscribed as well. I do appreciate it very much. It does help the channel out. I have a question here. Somebody asking, am I in a position right now? Yes, I am. I am in the same long position that I entered on Bitcoin way down over here. I'm still in the same long position. I've made over 2,000% profit, maybe a little bit less up to this point. Yeah, like 1,700% profit. So not great. But obviously, yeah, I'm still in that position. I'm still in my Tron long as well. I haven't closed either of them. I still think that there's more legs left in those positions, and I've already taken profits pretty well as well, so I'm not desperate to kind of start closing those positions just yet. I've got a lot more that I'm happy to kind of play with those particular things there. So I'm happy, I'm not worried about this in any particular direction. We have just kind of crossed 134,000 subscribers recently, by the way. So that's super cool, kind of closing in on that 135 mark now. So that's super, super exciting. Let's move back onto the market here. We were talking about a lot of stuff that's kind of more general. But, if we do take a look at the market again, let's actually zoom in on some of our current price action, because it looks like there is a bit of volatility right now as we speak. And while I'm looking at this, I just want to see what some of your comments are saying here in this live stream as well. PRS, congrats on the subscribers. You're very, very... Wait, what do I mean you're welcome? Thank you. That's what I meant to say. Thank you. I appreciate that. Long day, like I said. I've been underslept and tired for a while. But yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. It's been good. It's been a good journey. We've been running this channel for a while. And if we do take a look at this 1 minute here, we have actually bounced up from this low at 56.7, up by 3% now in about 6 hours. And we are pushing those highs right now. So let's actually continue to keep an eye on this and see how this can go. CD-ROM is asking, is the bottom in? I have no way of telling you that. But I think one of the easiest ways to tell if a bottom has been set is if you recover key levels like $60,000, which is what we were talking about a little bit earlier on in the stream. If we can kind of get above a level like this and back test it as support, that would be enough to tell me that the bottom is in, but that could happen down here, right? Like we can get below 52K, and I would say the same thing about this range. I'd say that if we kind of get above this range, back tested as support, then here is where I would say the bottom is in. And obviously I'd be referring to this bottom because you're punching in a higher low, you're flipping an important support level. There's a couple different things that happen if you pull off that kind of price action. So that's how I determine if bottoms are in. There's no way to determine that a bottom is in just from something like this. You have no way of knowing for sure. You never have a way of knowing for sure. But I think that, certain things can give you a much higher degree of certainty. And for me, it's flipping above important resistance levels, turning them into support and carrying on higher. So that's what I'd kind of be looking for in this market. Natoshi Sakamoto saying it is time to buy big. It might be. I think a lot of people are definitely actually going to be buying in these ranges. A lot of the kind of long-term people that kind of DCA into the market, they're going to be looking to buy in this range. I think there's, I think people are always going to be having good reasons not to buy. Even right now, I think, there's going to be a lot of people that are kind of subscribing to the school of thought that actually says, no, this is very dangerous. This is not a place to be buying in this market. So, there's going to be different people kind of feeling different things and saying different things here. But I do think that, for the most part, we're probably going to be seeing a lot of buying action starting to come in here. So that's going to be interesting to watch out for as well. Is there any other? Yeah, 4-hour EMA. I wanted to show you the 4-hour EMA ribbon. This has already provided some pretty good resistance to the market recently. We did break above it over here, but it could be back in play now. So again, I think, if we don't get up here soon, this is going to really start to become a problem for this level. Jojo is asking, do I think that the meme season is over? Well, if you take a look at a couple of the big meme coins, we've got Pepe here, which is obviously one of the biggest. It's been hit pretty hard, but honestly not as bad as I would have expected. I mean, Bitcoin's down 20% and this coin's down by 44. Now, granted, 44 is a big move, right? And I want to teach you guys a quick math lesson. Some of you guys might not actually know this. Bitcoin's down by 21%, okay? So let's put a line here at 21% from Pepe's all-time high. This is 21% down, and now Pepe is down here, okay? So this is a 44% drop, right? Here's a really, really important math lesson. Get your notepad out if you never actually thought of it this way. Maybe you already knew this, but you just haven't really thought about it this way in the crypto market. 21% drop is here, 44% drop is here, so roughly double. But to get up here to this minus 21% gain, you have to gain back 44%, right? You have to make 44%, not to break even, but just to get back up to a minus 20% loss, which really tells you a lot about how difficult it is to make your money back. And it's the primary reason that I don't mess around with coins when I feel like they're in dangerous places, which is why I still haven't bought any of them. And it's why I've been telling you guys that I still think they're going to be suffering. Now, for the most part, I've been incredibly correct. No, not for the most part. For an absolute certainty, I've been absolutely correct about all of that for a very, very long time, including right now. We are continuing to punch higher on this Bitcoin dominance chart here. Is it possible that it kind of pulls back again and we drop even lower? Absolutely. Is it probable? I don't think so, right? And the reason I've been saying I don't think so is that whether we move up from here or we move down from here, it's going to be a big move and people are not going to be wanting to hold altcoins. And we're already seeing that. Like, it's not just me talking shit. The chart is telling you that in real time. You're watching it move up right now with me on stream. So I think that does put meme coins in a pretty bad place. However, all things considered, Pepe is not down that bad. I mean, Solana itself, which is like a community favorite, is down itself by 35%. And it's not even a meme coin. It's Solana. It's like a major. People consider it to be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana as the three biggest, most important coins in the crypto space. So when you think of it that way, it's actually doing pretty well. If we look at Doge, I don't know if this was an all-time high for Doge. No, of course it wasn't. That all-time high was in 21. But if we look at this all-time high, this market cycle high down to the current low, Doge is down by 53%, which is still not even close to the other kind of absolute obliterations we've seen. I mean, if we take a look at Mother, for example, by Iggy, the female ratchet rapper, bless her, this coin topped out up here at 26 cents and is now down to 4 cents, and it's an 85% drop, right? So again, if we kind of mark out what a 20% loss looks like for this coin, just to really put this in perspective of how absolutely fucked you are if you weren't in Bitcoin. You probably already know this if you were dabbling in these coins, but this is a 21% drop. This is an 84% drop, and to get back up to 21%, to still just lose 21% from the all-time high, you still have to make back a 400% gain, okay? That's a 5 times increase. If you're enjoying this alpha, finding it useful, smash up those likes, ladies and gents. The more you guys are engaging with the stream, the more we're actually pushing out, which always, always, always happens. So, I would love if you guys can help out here. The more we can kind of push out, the more I am going to be staying on stream. Otherwise, I'm happy to just kind of re-upload this as a video, and everyone who might want to watch can get a chance later on as well. So that's super, super cool, but no stress, of course. That's no big deal. But this is an example of a meme coin that did really, really badly. Let's take a look at WIF, which is definitely one of the bigger ones. We're going to need a different chart for this because this doesn't have enough price history. Which chart should we look at? MEXC. MEXC is obviously better. And from WIF's all-time high down to here, it's down by 60%. So still not as bad. I mean, the difference from, let me just put this in perspective again, right? Let's look at 60% over here, and an 84% drop, which is where Mother is at. Again, just really important basic kind of math lessons that a lot of people don't even think about. To get from here back up to a 60% profit, you'd still have to make a 2.4 times gain, right? So, I think that's actually really, really important in terms of where the market can go and how much of a recovery is required to kind of break even, right? To get back up to break even on WIF, it's got to pull off a 2.6 times gain, which for a meme coin obviously is totally doable, but I just don't think that it's something that you could necessarily expect as a certainty, because that kind of train of thought definitely can land you in trouble. I can tell you for sure that it's landed me in a fair bit of trouble throughout my trading career in this market, so I'm not really interested in making those kind of mistakes again. Afraid is saying, I think we're done for a while, to be honest. So living up to your username there. I think a lot of people feel like we're done right now. And again, I'm just going to refer you back to what I said a couple of minutes ago about sentiment, where, sentiment's pretty short. It's going to be a lot lower than this probably at the daily close if we don't move up substantially from here. And I think that, with that in mind, and the fact that the price is still at fucking $58,000, like, let's, guys, I want you to be really, you can't bring this attitude to this channel. This is the thing, like, you can do it anywhere else because other people are like super like sensationalist and stuff like that. And, they don't really understand how the game works. But, if you really just look at this objectively, we went up from $15,000 to $75,000. Okay, that's 4 times gain basically, and now we're down by 20%. To recover this, it's a 25%, 26% move up. So we're really not down that bad. Like, we're not actually in a bad place. And I just think that sober approach is really important. I mean, does this mean that we can't move down? Absolutely not. We can still definitely move down. It looks like the market wants to go there. If the market wants to go there, I don't want to stop it. Here's the other thing that you guys probably don't keep in mind if you're kind of getting worried about this, is that the more we kind of move down, the longer this overall bull market is going to be, if and when we make a recovery. Nothing is guaranteed, but if we do make a recovery, the longer that bull market is going to be. And that just means you have more opportunities to make money. You have more alt seasons, you have more meme seasons, you have AI season, right? AI coins haven't even pumped yet, right? So you get a lot more opportunities to be making money here. We've got Bitcoin dominance continuing to gain a bit of ground here. Let's take a look at this here on the minute time frame. It's just going up and up and up, and Ethereum is looking like it's really been struggling up at this 0.55 range. We're continuing to print the exact same chart that Ethereum printed previously throughout the end of 23 and beginning of 24. We were constantly kind of getting rejected up at this level, just in this general kind of zone, anywhere between kind of 0.57 and 0.61 BTC per token. And Ethereum has now seen its second kind of major rejection off this particular level. So if it is going to be sliding lower, there is a long way for Ethereum to go until it reaches its next zone of support, and I still think that it's heading down. I've been saying that for a really long time. Obviously it became a bit more uncomfortable to say that when the market kind of went up and stayed higher, but this is a coin which really kind of battles against Bitcoin and tends to fight a losing battle at that, or at least definitely has done so basically for the last 665 days. It's been nearly 2 years. We're in July now, and this downtrend kind of started in September of 22. So I do think that that's really, really important. Cutest Girls is saying the bull run ended. 73.8 was the top. There you go. So, I mean, a lot of bearish kind of sentiment here. Let me know in the live chat. Do you guys think that the market has topped out? Tell me it's topped out or it hasn't topped out in the live chat. I want to know kind of how many of you guys are polarized in one particular direction or the other. And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just kind of, you guys are here to hear what I have to say. So that's why I'm telling you. But, there's definitely no right or wrong answers to these kind of things. I'm just kind of curious to see what everybody thinks here. So we've got Talib saying not topped out, of course. Shady Hawk, no, it hasn't topped out. Caro, everyone is crawling for lower prices. I love it. Me too, man. Me too. Alex is saying we're not topped out. Thiago thinks we've already bottomed out. Boom Select, I don't think it topped out because of the halving. Yo, you brought up a really important point, Boom. This is actually a really, really big deal. Let me run this for you guys for a second because nobody's actually talking about this. Could someone in the live chat remind me where the halving was? Because I actually forgot the exact date, but if I'm not mistaken, it was April of this year. So let's go ahead and put down a vertical line, basically like April, I think it was like April 19, something like that. That's April 16. This is where the halving happened. and April 20, right? So I was actually pretty close. This is where the halving happened here. And I mean, the halving price action has been so typical in this current market here compared to what we've seen before. I actually had this on a different chart. I wonder if I can find this really. There it is. It's actually on here already. This might be the halvings. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if these are. No, these are clearly not the halvings, because these are not 4-year cycles here. But, we did see a lot of the time on our previous charts that when we have halvings for Bitcoin, Bitcoin actually kind of just hangs out and trades sideways before the halving and after the halving. And there's actually usually a dip as well, either before or after the halving. And then the market really kind of moves up. So if we're looking at a longer term halving argument, which like obviously everybody's forgotten, which is the unequivocal proof that you have now in front of you again, that these fucking news events don't matter, right? The only thing that matters in these markets are psychology, and you are proof of that the way you've probably been thinking in this market, whether or not you're bullish or bearish. You've probably already been proving that to yourself. I certainly do as well. And it's very important to be aware of these basic realities in the market where, halvings and, be it Germany selling, there's absolutely everything and anything. These are all narratives that, just like any other kind of element in the news, stick around for a couple of days and then everybody forgets them, right? And sometimes they stick around for a bit more, like the halving, but the halving is completely forgotten by now. I mean, Boom Select in the live chat mentioned that, we've got, a very typical kind of bit of price action for the Bitcoin halving that we've pulled off before. And I completely agree with you, but nobody is actually thinking about it that way. Caro is saying Germany selling has zero impact. And I don't know about zero, but I'm inclined to generally agree with you. I think that it's generally just not that big of a deal. There have been huge amounts of OTC selling that have happened for various different reasons all throughout Bitcoin's history, and it hasn't really been a particularly big deal. But this thing about the halving, I think, just makes so much sense because we do typically see either a drop or just sideways before and after the halving, or it's like some element of that, but basically not instantly bullish. After every single halving, it's always been like that. And that's what I really think is happening here as well. So I completely agree with you. Cutest Girls is saying, I'm scared to even buy at 50K. What if it gets to 50K and then slips into bear market? I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, that could happen, but that's the risk of trading, right? I mean, when you have the highest risk, a lot of the time that's where you might also find the highest rewards. So, it really just comes down to how big your balls are. There's nothing else really that I can say about that. Whether or not you're a male or female, it just comes down to having balls of steel, and then you get paid for it. And obviously, you can get punished for it as well. But there are ways to kind of limit risk. And one of the things I've been kind of describing in this live stream is, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily be bullish over here, and start buying now. But and let's say Bitcoin goes up to 70K, I stand to gain, let's say I buy Bitcoin right now, I stand to gain 22% if Bitcoin goes back up to the all-time high. But what I would actually be a lot more interested in is buying if we come up and then down here. I'd probably buy on this support level. And so instead of making 22%, I'm still making 17%, 1776. Wow, what a number for the 4th of July. 1776 here, 17.76%. I would definitely be interested in buying up here. I'm sorry, what am I talking about? Buying down here, and if I sell up here, I'm still making 17%, 18% compared to the 22% of buying over here. But the difference is I have so much less risk, right? Like over here, you could say it's maybe like a 50-50 chance that it goes up or down. It might not be. It might be more or less. It doesn't matter. But over here, it's a much lower chance, in my opinion, that we go down, right? If we get above this zone of resistance, and we turn it into support, then the chance that we go down is just so much lower in my books. I just really wouldn't worry about it. So I might have like 50% risk here, but I might only have 10% risk here. So I'm actually scaling back on my risk massively by buying at a higher level, and I'm losing out on some of the profits. I'm only making, look at that again, 17.76% profit. That is so interesting the way these numbers have worked out. And so, I'm going to make a little bit less money, but I'm risking so much less of my capital. And to me, that just makes me feel so much safer to actually be buying in this market. And that's what I want. I want to feel safe, and I want to feel like I'm in the right place. And by the way, there's still a lot of money to be made on this kind of thing, right? I mean, like, there's a really easy kind of position that I'd be looking at here. It's already the same kind of position I've already been eyeing up. If we just kind of take the long and short tool here and look at what this might look like, I'd probably have a stop loss somewhere around 59.4, and I'd be targeting obviously this high. That's a 9.9 risk to reward. I stand to make 17% for a 1.8% risk. With 1.8% risk, I can very comfortably use 5 times leverage, 10 times leverage. I mean, if I'm using 5 times leverage, I've doubled my money. That's a 18% profit. 18% times 5, you're basically at 100% gain. So just 5x leverage is going to get me that. Obviously, I would be trading that only on the top 2 links in this description here, be it Blowfin, which is a no KYC exchange, thousands of dollars in bonuses. Definitely an exchange that's worth looking at because they don't white label their tech, or Bybit, which is the best in the game with up to $30,000 in bonuses here. I'd be trading on either one of these. I'd be using their free money, and I'd be having amazing upside for these kind of trades here, which I think is really, really important. Those of you that are watching, you can just open this up in a new tab. Blowfin, you can get started with trading, including your deposit, within like 2 minutes. They're so quick at crediting money and getting you up and running, so you can start working toward that free money they're going to let you trade with. And again, there's just so many kind of shady exchanges out here these days, that have this kind of unique benefit, of not kind of being invasive for your ID and stuff like that. But Blowfin, I don't think is one of them. So that's definitely super cool. And of course, as usual, always be mindful of your regulations. Let's see what we're talking about in the live chat here. But yeah, really, really interesting position. If I wanted to be a little bit more controlled with my risk, I don't even think I need to go this crazy, but I can move it down to 2.3% risk to reward. I'm sorry, 2.3% risk. I still got a 7.8 risk to reward. I'm still, that's still like 5x leverage easily. There's a lot of space to be using 5. Look, by the way, just to put this in perspective, I stand to lose like, let's say 13% on this, right? I stand to lose, let's say, just for argument's sake, I stand to lose 13% here, but I stand to make 100%. I mean, the numbers just make so much sense. So I think that's a really, really big deal. Whereas over here, just in terms of raw risk to reward, I'm going to be taking on more risk, right? I mean, my stop loss is going to have to be below this wick, so that's 3.46. And I don't even know if we're going to break this resistance level. So I've got 4.5% upside, a risk to reward of 1.3. For every dollar that I risk, I only stand to make $1.30. And to the upside, yes, it's much better. I stand to make a lot more money. But first of all, my leverage is going to be a little bit lower potentially. And second of all, I don't even know if we're going to break this resistance level. But like I said, when you kind of view risk in this way, and when you view upside in this way, you really don't ask questions like, have we bottomed out, or what's going on with the market in that way. You just kind of get on with it, because you know that like you don't need to catch the bottoms or the tops. You don't need to play those knife edges and stuff like that, those absolute pinnacles and absolute troughs. You just need something that's good enough, and as long as you're kind of supplementing it with some nice tools. And like I said, I personally like to use exchanges like Blowfin and Bybit to trade, which have great tools that I love to use. They're very dangerous. You can lose your money very, very quickly on them if you don't use them properly. But I've spent the time to learn them, and if you use them, you have to do that as well. There's no way to do it responsibly otherwise. But I've been doing that, and I think that's the way I like to trade, right? Like it means that I'm just so comfortable missing big parts of the move, doesn't matter, and I'm still just completely fine. I'm still going to be making money. So I think that's really cool. Smash up the likes for that if you think that was a cool kind of important segment. Very, very important part of this video, of this live stream, in my opinion, because it's so heavily trading focused, and that's exactly what I'm doing in this market. I'm right here with you guys in the trenches. You guys already know that, and because we're taking a kind of different approach on this YouTube channel, you and I are in the very, very same boat together, and that does make us, kind of have to think about things in similar ways, which is why I think, we kind of get along so well. So what is your exit strategy on my long position, Sammy? I don't know, man. I worry a little bit less about exit strategies. I kind of just want to make the money. I've already secured some. I made more than double my entry on that position. So, that's a lot of money. I put in a decent amount of money in that trade. So, like when you get to a certain point, you can't really even care. I know that's not responsible. I probably should be a little bit more diligent about it, but I'm much more interested in future trades from now. I've taken so much profits off that trade as well by now. So, even if we continue to move up, we'll still make good money, but I'll make much more money if I kind of open a new trade and and do well like that. And that's why I said I'm kind of looking at two key trades. If we kind of slowly move up, I want to short this level, and if we flip this level as support, I want to long this level. In either case, I want to trade this level if we get it. You know, and I definitely prefer the long trade, right? I obviously prefer that Bitcoin kind of moves up from here. But you know, Boom Select, I think it was you that mentioned the kind of halving analysis. You know, I do think that that kind of halving theory that you've described is just perfectly on point, because it's something that Bitcoin has done every single time before, and we're just doing it again now. But obviously we've just forgotten what those narratives are, because, you know, we're kind of wrapped up in our own heads, and we're just kind of losing sight of certain things that I think are actually quite important. But you know, people like Boom Select are not forgetting it, and you know, he is the kind of person, whoever it is, these are the kind of people that actually tend to get paid in this market, in my experience, for whatever that's worth. Who knows? I've only been here for 7 years, not that long apparently. So, you know, you tell me. Leo Leas says it's going down to 41k, and then some sideways, and then goes back up to make another tower. Same pattern as 21. Price patterns tend to resonate. That is a very, very specific bit of analysis. You must have a crystal ball to be seeing that far into the future with all of those next steps that you've predicted so accurately. I don't know about that, man. I see where you're coming from. I think that could definitely happen, because Bitcoin loves to rhyme with history. But, you know, when you make so many predictions that are contingent on a previous prediction, your overall probability of being correct is very low. I'm going to say that one more time for the people in the back. When you make many predictions which are contingent on the previous prediction being correct, your overall probability of being right is very low. You know, you're just multiplying probabilities. Even if you have an 80% chance of being correct at each prediction, if you're making 5 of them, you have a very low chance of being correct overall. I actually want to put this into math for you just to help you understand, because math is the only true language of the universe. And if we look at, you know, let's say 100 times 0.8 to the power of 5, if you're multiplying this, you know, 5 times, you know, you're left with an overall chance of being correct of 32%. You know, only 1 in 3 times will you be correct for your overall prediction if you have kind of 5 different elements to your prediction, and each of them rely on the previous one being correct. Your overall chance of being correct is very, very slim. Leo Leas, I polish my crystal ball daily. That is brilliant. So you do have a crystal ball. That explains it. But I think that's important. And this is why I say that I don't know. You know, when people ask me, you know, what do I think is going to happen in 2 to 3 weeks or by the end of the year, I'm like, well, you know, to answer what's going to happen in 2 to 3 weeks, I need to know what's going to happen in the next few hours, and then, you know, the next day, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I really like to kind of visualize things in this way. We can also just kind of do it like this, and again, we get the same number here, right? So 32% chance of being correct with these kind of numbers. I mean, if you're only at a 75% chance of being correct, you know, it gets abysmally low. I mean, 75 and 80% are not that big of a difference, but now you only have less than a quarter chance of being correct. And I think that's actually a really, really big deal here in terms of doing analysis, to really kind of, you know, give yourselves the chance to have a very kind of sober perspective on the market over here. So ladies and gents, I'm going to be taking a couple last questions in this stream. If you have enjoyed this one so far, do me a favor and smash up those likes as usual. I do appreciate all the support. If you haven't already subscribed, double check that you are, so that you don't miss out on this very time-sensitive content here. If we do have any kind of final questions, let me know. I'll take another look through some of the altcoins that I haven't quite gotten to just yet. Cardano is down from its critical macro zone of resistance. This is dangerous, and this is bad for Cardano. But ultimately, I think that Cardano is only going to, you know, kind of move at the mercy of Bitcoin. So I don't even really think it's worth watching Cardano or pretty much any other altcoin, to be honest. Most altcoins are just going to be moving as Bitcoin does. The dollar index here is open, and it has been sliding lower today, which is just more evidence that Bitcoin's in a really bad position, because when the dollar is sliding down, we really want to see Bitcoin holding up strength, but it's not doing that right now. So it might be a bit of a bumpy ride yet to come before we do start seeing some more kind of blue sky breakouts and stuff like that. Van de Pope revealed on Twitter that Bitcoin's CME gap has closed, and added that it is time for the crypto token to enjoy a relief bounce from its current price level. Is this a ChatGPT comment that you just wrote? Bond Girl, brilliant analysis on DXY. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that, you know, the dollar represents a bit of trouble for Bitcoin at this stage. We really want to see Bitcoin kind of showing a bit of strength at times like this, but it's not happening. So I do think that has to be kind of seen as concerning at this point with SP at new highs. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The S&P 500 has done so well, and Bitcoin just can't, you know, keep up. Bitcoin's just uniquely weak in its own way. So you know, and again, it just doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me that you know, we've got you know, whatever narratives there are, you know, in terms of who's selling or whatever. You know, I do think that you know, just like you all forgot about the halving, which by the way was only like 3-4 months ago. You know, I think it was it was like, it wasn't even 3 months ago. It was like 2.5 months ago, the halving, and everybody forgot about it. You know, just like that, every one of these narratives that you're reading on the news right now, you're going to forget about as well. So I just don't think that it's that important. But yeah, I think with the S&P 500 looking so strong, with the dollar looking so weak, you really want to see Bitcoin doing better than this, and it's not happening, and it hasn't been happening for a while. So the signs have been there, and we were covering those signs in every single video, every single live stream. So, you know, I mean, we're not going to be surprised by this, but we're also not going to be scared by it, because, I mean, it's all just, you know, to me, overall, it's just looking very typical. I mean, people are scared in the right kind of place. You know, it just kind of looks typical that this market does end up kind of dipping down from here. So there you go, ladies and gents. I hope you have enjoyed this live stream. I'm going to be heading off for this one. I'll catch you guys with some more volatility if we get some more later on tonight, tomorrow, whatever the case may be. It's been a great one. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.